The research station floated silently above the lavender clouds of Nova Prime. Its sleek silver structure reflected the light of the nearby twin suns, and the constant hum of the station's engines was a reminder that this was not a quiet observatory but a hub of galactic research. Here, hundreds of species mingled, studied, and debated the mysteries of the universe. Among them, humans were rare, often underestimated, often misunderstood. Dr. Kayla Thrin, a tall alien with shimmering azure skin and eyes that reflected the colors of her emotions, moved swiftly down the corridor. Her limbs were slender and precise, and each step seemed purposeful, almost ceremonial. Today, she felt a ripple of skepticism under her usual calm exterior. She had been assigned to a new experiment, one that tested the genetic compatibility of humans with other species. A strange and almost laughable concept. Humans, she muttered to herself, so simple, so fragile, and yet they are everywhere. She paused outside Laboratory 7A, adjusting her gloves. Inside, the station's atmosphere was carefully regulated, temperature, oxygen, pressure, all precisely tailored for every species that would enter. Today, however, the atmosphere seemed irrelevant. Today, she would meet the human assigned as the first subject. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and there he was, Lieutenant James Hunter. James was human, of course, but even to the untrained eye, there was something remarkable about him. He stood with a natural confidence, his posture straight but relaxed, and his eyes, a deep brown, reflected curiosity and calm assurance. He gave a polite nod as Kayla entered. "Dr. Thrin," he said in the universal tongue, his voice steady and unassuming. "Pleasure to meet you." Kayla raised an eyebrow. "Lieutenant Hunter," she replied coolly. "I hope you understand what this experiment entails." "I do," he said simply. "I've read the briefings. I know the risks, and I'm willing to participate fully." Kayla studied him carefully. Humans were often boastful, fragile, or reckless. This one seemed composed. She suppressed a hint of curiosity. The laboratory was quiet, save for the low hum of equipment monitoring the air and various sensors. Kayla gestured to a console. "Please remain here. I will adjust the parameters to begin the test." James nodded and leaned against the wall, his gaze wandering over the instruments and displays. "Interesting setup," he said. "I assume all species samples are calibrated." "Yes," Kayla said sharply. "Every variable is accounted for. The probability of success is minimal. Humans have rarely, if ever, been compatible with alien species." James smiled faintly. "Then I suppose I'm a rare case." Kayla didn't respond immediately. The thought was tempting, humans as naturally exceptional. She pushed it aside. The experiment began, a careful series of genetic simulations and biofeedback measurements. Kayla monitored every spike, every fluctuation, her alien senses finely attuned to biological signals. Minutes passed. Then a soft chime indicated the result. Kayla's eyes widened. It couldn't be. The readings were stable, positive, entirely successful. James, still calm, looked at her. "Is that good?" Kayla swallowed hard. "It's unprecedented." Her mind raced. No alien species had shown this level of compatibility with humans. And this was the first attempt. Her hands trembled slightly, an emotion she rarely allowed herself to feel in a professional setting. James tilted his head. "Unprecedented." "Yes," Kayla said, her voice lower than usual. You have succeeded where no other species has." "On the very first try." James blinked. "I see." He seemed unshaken, but Kayla could sense the faint rise of curiosity in his demeanor, an instinctive awareness that something extraordinary had just occurred. She moved around the console, scanning the data again. "I must verify these results. Something is different about human biology. It is flexible, adaptable, strong in ways we cannot yet quantify." James leaned forward slightly. "You mean humans are better than you thought?" Kayla hesitated. The word "better" was alien to her, carrying human judgment that she wasn't accustomed to. But the data didn't lie. "You are remarkable," she admitted, a trace of awe in her voice. For the first time, Kayla noticed the subtle reactions of the other species observing from the lab windows. They had come to watch, skeptics and colleagues alike. Now, whispers spread among them. A human had accomplished what no other species could, and it was not through force, not through advanced technology, but through simple natural biology. The implications were staggering. Kayla felt a mixture of professional duty and personal disbelief. She had always prided herself on objectivity, but now she realized humans might have qualities the galaxy had underestimated for centuries. "Dr. Thrin," James said quietly, "what happens now?" Kayla turned to him, her eyes wide. "Now we study you," she hesitated, then added almost to herself, "We understand you." James raised an eyebrow, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "I hope I'm as fascinating as you say." Kayla didn't answer immediately. She was already planning the next steps. The station's regulations demanded repetition and verification, but she knew instinctively that the phenomenon she had just witnessed was not a fluke. Humans were exceptional. Over the next hour, she conducted detailed scans and simulations, carefully observing James's biological signals. Each measurement confirmed what the initial readings had shown. Human males, she realized, possessed a unique combination of resilience, adaptability, and natural compatibility that no alien species could replicate. Even her own species, considered one of the most advanced in the sector, could not achieve this. Kayla's astonishment grew with every passing moment. She felt something alien and new stirring within her, an emotion that was both professional curiosity and personal amazement. Humans were unpredictable, yet capable, simple, yet extraordinary. The day passed quickly, with Kayla recording every observation meticulously. By evening, the lab was quiet. James prepared to leave, but he paused at the doorway. "Dr. Thrin," he said, "thank you for taking this seriously. I didn't expect all this attention." Kayla looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You have given us reason to reconsider everything we thought we knew about humans." James nodded slowly, a small smile playing on his lips. "Then I suppose humans have more to show." As the doors closed behind him, Kayla stood alone, staring at the console. She repeated the data silently, over and over. The results could not be ignored. Humans were not weak. Humans were not limited. Humans were extraordinary. And she, for the first time, felt a thrill of anticipation for what the rest of her research might reveal. Outside the lab, the stars glimmered over Nova Prime. The galaxy, vast and unknowable, had just glimpsed a small but astonishing truth. Humanity was unlike anything the universe had expected. And Kayla Thrin, alien scientist and skeptic, would never see humans the same way again. The laboratory was unusually crowded the next morning. Word of the unprecedented result had spread like solar fire through the research station. Aliens of all shapes and colors filled the observation galleries, whispering and gesturing excitedly as they watched Kayla Thrin prepare her instruments. Kayla felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety. She had spent her entire career studying alien biology, examining species considered far superior to humans in adaptability, intelligence, and physiology. Yet here she was, staring at data that suggested humans might be exceptional in ways no one had predicted. "Dr. Thrin," a voice called from the observation window. Kayla turned to see Elder Virin, one of the station's most respected biologists, floating in the observation deck. His translucent wings shimmered in the lab light, and his many eyes blinked rapidly as he scanned the monitors. "I hear interesting news." "Yes, Elder," Kayla said, her voice steady though her mind raced. "The experiment succeeded, on the first attempt." Viren's many eyes widened. "On the first attempt? Impossible. Human males are simple. Their genetics are rudimentary compared to advanced species like the Lyran or the Zelthar." Kayla nodded. I thought so too, but the data doesn't lie. Lieutenant Hunter demonstrates a level of compatibility no alien male has ever achieved. Viren's wings fluttered in disbelief. You must repeat it. Such results cannot stand unverified. Perhaps your instruments malfunctioned. Kayla shook her head. I checked them thoroughly. Everything is precise. The readings are consistent. Whispers spread among the gathered aliens. Some leaned closer to see the displays, showing heart rate, cellular adaptation, and genetic integration charts. Even the most skeptical species could not deny the data. The human male's biology had achieved a successful cross-species genetic bond in a single attempt. A smaller alien, green and translucent with delicate tendrils waving from its head, whispered to its neighbor, "This defies everything we know about reproduction. How can a simple human male succeed where we fail?" Kayla ignored the chatter, focusing on her instruments. She felt a strange thrill, the kind she rarely experienced. Humans, she realized, were unpredictable, flexible, resilient, capable of astonishing feats without trying. The station's intercom buzzed. "Dr. Thrin, please report to the council chamber. All senior researchers wish to hear your preliminary findings." Kayla's mandibles clicked softly, a sign of nervous anticipation. She had expected this. The results were too important to remain in one laboratory. She left the lab and floated down the corridors toward the chamber, her mind alive with calculations and observations. Inside the council chamber, dozens of aliens waited, seated around a large, holographic table. Kayla stepped forward, projecting the experiment data into the center of the room. Heart rate patterns, cellular adaptability, and genetic mapping charts hovered in midair, visible to all. "Ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished species," she began. "The experiment conducted yesterday demonstrates an unprecedented biological phenomenon. Lieutenant Hunter, a human male, has successfully achieved cross-species genetic compatibility on the first attempt." The room erupted in quiet murmurs. Kayla waited until silence returned before continuing. "The probability of success, based on our previous observations with multiple species, was near zero. Yet here, the results are not only positive, they are stable, replicable, and measurable." Elder Viren leaned forward. "Explain yourself, Dr. Thrin. How is this possible?" Kayla took a deep breath. "It appears that human males possess unique biological traits that allow them to adapt rapidly to foreign genetic material. Their cells respond instinctively, creating compatibility where no other species has succeeded. Their physiology is remarkable in its simplicity and flexibility." A murmur ran through the council. Some species nodded thoughtfully, others seemed skeptical, unable to accept the idea that a human, long considered primitive, could outperform advanced species. "Perhaps it is an anomaly," Viren suggested, though doubt lingered in his tone. "One human may succeed, but humans are not consistent. How can we be sure this is a species-wide trait?" Kayla projected data showing not only James's readings, but also simulations of potential compatibility with other species. "Our simulations indicate that humans are statistically more adaptable than previously believed. Their biology is not only resilient but instinctively compatible with alien genetics." A Zelthar scientist, with 6 arms and 3 eyes, shook her head. "This is absurd. I have studied thousands of species. No species achieves this naturally. Humans are weak, simple. Their intelligence is functional but not exceptional. How can they accomplish such a thing?" Kayla looked at her. "That is exactly why this is remarkable. It is not their intellect, not their technology, but their biology, simple, natural, and instinctive. They adapt where others fail. They survive where others struggle." The council fell silent. Even the skeptics could not deny the evidence floating before them. Kayla sensed the subtle shift in perception. Humans were no longer the fragile species they had assumed. Later, Kayla returned to her lab. James was waiting, leaning casually against a console, scanning the equipment. "You're getting a lot of attention," he said. Kayla smiled faintly, though a flicker of awe crossed her face. "Attention is inevitable. You've demonstrated something the galaxy never expected. I never expected it myself." James tilted his head. "I don't understand. Is this about me or about humans in general?" "Both," Kayla admitted. "You are human, but your biology is extraordinary. It is astonishing. I must study you further to understand how humans achieve what no other species can." James grinned. "Well, I guess humans have more surprises than you thought." Kayla nodded, feeling a sense of pride she rarely experienced. Humans had always seemed ordinary compared to alien species with advanced intelligence or complex genetics. Yet here they were, quietly surpassing expectation without effort. The next few days were a whirlwind of tests and observations. Kayla measured James's genetic responses, cellular adaptation, and metabolic stability. Each time, the results were consistent. Humans were biologically astonishing. The data confirmed that the success of the first experiment was no accident. Observers from other species arrived daily. They watched in fascination as James underwent harmless tests, each designed to measure adaptability and resilience. Aliens whispered to one another, comparing humans to their own species. Slowly, skepticism began to shift into respect. Kayla observed it all with a mixture of scientific curiosity and personal wonder. She realized that humans were not just biologically exceptional. They were instinctively confident, calm under observation, and adaptable in ways no alien could mimic. These traits went beyond science. They were the essence of humanity itself. One evening, Kayla sat in the lab alone, reviewing the data. She thought of James, of his calm confidence, of the effortless way he adapted to alien procedures and expectations. She realized that the galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries. They were not the fragile, simple species everyone assumed. They were extraordinary. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. Elder Viren entered, his translucent wings shimmering. He held a tablet projecting the experiment data. "Doctor." "Thrin," he said, his tone cautious. "I have reviewed your findings. I admit I am astonished. This human male, he has achieved what no species has before. On the first attempt." Kayla nodded. "Yes, and there is more. Our simulations suggest that humans could succeed with many alien species. Their biology is versatile. Their instincts are strong. Their adaptability is remarkable." Viren looked thoughtful. "This could change how the galaxy views humans. We must proceed carefully. Publish prematurely and many species may react with fear or envy." Kayla agreed. "I understand. We will continue our studies, but we must protect the integrity of the research and of the human involved." Viren gave a slow nod. "Very well. But know this, Kayla, the galaxy will not ignore such a discovery. Humans are remarkable, and you have only begun to uncover the truth." As Viren left, Kayla returned to her console. She stared at the charts, the numbers, the glowing simulations. The human male who had astonished her and the galaxy was more than a subject. He was a revelation. And in that revelation, Kayla realized that humans were quietly, naturally extraordinary. Outside the station, Nova Prime glimmered in the twin suns' light. The galaxy, vast and unknowable, had just witnessed the first evidence of humanity's hidden potential. And Kayla Thrin, once a skeptic, was now its most fascinated witness. She allowed herself a rare smile. The journey had just begun. Days passed quickly in the research station. Kayla Thrin found herself caught in a whirlwind of activity she had never imagined. Observers from countless species arrived daily to witness the human male, Lieutenant James Hunter, undergoing various studies. Despite the attention, James remained calm, almost unshakably so, impressing both alien scientists and Kayla herself. The station corridors buzzed with whispered conversations. Aliens who once dismissed humans as simple were now exchanging theories about the species' surprising abilities. Some wondered whether human physiology had hidden qualities no species had ever discovered. Others debated whether James was an anomaly or a true representation of his species. Kayla, however, was focused on understanding the truth. She had long studied species from across the galaxy, yet nothing had prepared her for what humans could do. She often sat late into the night in her lab, analyzing genetic sequences, metabolic rates, and cellular adaptability. Every test reinforced the same astonishing truth: humans were uniquely resilient and adaptable. Dr. Thrin, a voice called softly behind her one evening. Kayla looked up to see Lieutenant James standing in the doorway, holding a cup of a warm, amber liquid, something humans called tea. "You should rest," he said. "You've been at this for hours." Kayla shook her head, smiling faintly. "I cannot rest while these results remain unexplained. Humans, your species is unlike anything I have seen." James stepped closer, his calm presence somehow easing her tension. "I'm just me," he said simply. "Nothing special, really." Kayla's eyes narrowed slightly, a hint of frustration at his humility. "No, you do not understand. Your biology, your very being, is extraordinary. You adapt to circumstances that would overwhelm any other species. You are instinctively compatible with others in ways the galaxy has never recorded." James tilted his head thoughtfully. "Instinctively compatible? You mean I could do this with other species too?" Kayla nodded. "Yes. Our simulations indicate that your species has natural adaptability. You do not just survive, you integrate, you adjust, you thrive. Other species require intense conditioning or technology. Humans, you need nothing but your own physiology." James blinked, absorbing the words. "I never knew humans were capable of this." "You never needed to know," Kayla said softly, "until now, and perhaps that is the point. You are exceptional because you are ordinary, natural. You do not force your biology, it simply works." That evening, Kayla reviewed a series of cross-species compatibility tests. Each simulation showed the same pattern. Human physiology adapted faster, integrated more effectively, and maintained stability where other species failed. The implications were staggering. Humanity, long considered weak or average, possessed a subtle superiority no one had recognized. Word spread quickly. Species who had once ignored humans now sent delegations to observe James. Kayla became the central point of contact, explaining the data, answering questions, and guiding simulations. She watched as alien scientists struggled to understand what seemed to them impossible. Humans, with their simple bodies, could achieve what their advanced species could not. One afternoon, Kayla was called to the main observation chamber. Elder Viren and a council of senior researchers waited, their eyes bright with curiosity and caution. "Dr. Thrin," Viren began, "we have reviewed the latest data. It appears your conclusions are accurate. Humans are exceptional. But why? What gives them this adaptability?" Kayla took a deep breath. "It is not a single factor. It is a combination of instinct, resilience, and physiological flexibility. Human cells respond naturally to external stimuli. Their bodies adjust, integrate, and maintain equilibrium under conditions that destabilize other species. Their instincts guide them. They adapt without thought, without training." A Zelthar scientist, whose 6 arms moved with precision as she adjusted her viewing lenses, spoke. "So humans are biologically dominant." Kayla shook her head slightly. "Not dominant in the usual sense. They are not stronger, not faster in conventional ways, but they are effective where others fail. They succeed naturally, effortlessly, without technological aid or external manipulation." Viren leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. "This changes everything. Humans may no longer be considered inferior. We must study them further, carefully, and ethically." Kayla nodded. "I agree, But we must also respect the human involved. Lieutenant Hunter is not a test subject to exploit. He is a revelation, and he deserves consideration. Later that day, Kayla returned to the lab. James was there, reviewing some of the instruments with quiet curiosity. "You've been busy," he said. "Do you ever rest?" Kayla smiled faintly. "Not when I am trying to understand something as extraordinary as this." She gestured to the console. "Look at these sequences, your cellular adaptability, how your DNA integrates without error." "It is stunning." James leaned in, scanning the data. "I see what you mean, but why am I different? Is it just me?" Kayla's gaze softened. "No, I have no doubt now. This is humanity. Humans are extraordinary. You are simply an example of what your species can achieve naturally." James shook his head, a small smile forming. "I guess humans have been underestimated." "Yes," Kayla said, "for centuries, and perhaps that is why you succeed. You do not know the limits placed upon you. You simply act, adapt, survive, thrive." As the days continued, Kayla conducted more complex studies, observing James's responses to alien genetic material. Each trial confirmed the same principle. Human biology was inherently versatile, instinctively compatible, and resilient beyond expectation. But it was not just the scientific results that fascinated Kayla. She began to notice the subtle ways James's presence influenced the other species. His calm confidence, his natural adaptability, even his humility, seemed to ease tensions and encourage cooperation. Aliens who had been skeptical now asked questions respectfully. Observers who had been dismissive now watched with curiosity and admiration. Kayla realized that humans were not only biologically exceptional, they had social and instinctive traits that complemented their physiology. Confidence without arrogance, calm under pressure, adaptability in every circumstance, traits that aliens struggled to emulate. One evening, Kayla sat alone in her lab, reviewing the data. James had gone to rest, as humans required sleep, and the lab was silent except for the hum of the equipment. Kayla reflected on everything she had learned. Humans were simple, yes, but that simplicity was deceptive. Underneath it lay instinct, adaptability, and resilience that no other species had mastered. For the first time, Kayla allowed herself a rare smile. Humans, it seemed, were quietly extraordinary, and the galaxy, once dismissive, was beginning to notice. Outside, the stars glimmered against the void, the twin suns casting gentle light over Nova Prime. Kayla stood at the observation window, her eyes tracing the constellations. She knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity's potential was vast, untapped, and astonishing, and she, once skeptical, was now one of its most fascinated witnesses. The universe, she realized, had underestimated humans for far too long, and she wondered what other secrets humanity might reveal when the galaxy paid closer attention. Weeks passed, and the research station above Nova Prime had transformed into a hub of activity unlike any in its history. Aliens from countless species arrived daily to observe Lieutenant James Hunter and study his astonishing biological adaptability. Reports of his unprecedented success in cross-species compatibility spread quickly, causing waves of curiosity, skepticism, and in some cases, awe across the galaxy. Dr. Kayla Thrin walked through the station's corridors, her azure skin shimmering faintly in the artificial light. She had once considered humans simple, fragile, even unremarkable. Now she carried the weight of a revelation that could change the galaxy's perception of an entire species. "Dr. Thrin," called a voice behind her. She turned to see Elder Viren floating toward her, his translucent wings glinting. "The Council has requested an immediate briefing. Your findings have stirred more interest than we anticipated." Kayla nodded. "I understand. The galaxy is beginning to notice the potential humanity holds. And they will want more than just data, they will want to witness it firsthand." Viren's many eyes blinked rapidly. "You must prepare carefully. Such revelations can inspire admiration or fear. Kayla's jaw tightened. I will present only the truth. Humans are extraordinary. That is all they need to know. The council chamber was packed. Scientists, leaders, and observers from dozens of species filled the space, all eager to hear Kayla's briefing. Holographic displays projected James's biological data, showing cellular integration rates, adaptability scores, and compatibility with alien genetic samples. Kayla stepped forward, her voice calm and clear. Distinguished members of the Council, the research conducted here demonstrates a truth that cannot be ignored. Human biology is unique, resilient, and adaptable in ways the galaxy has never observed. Lieutenant James Hunter, a representative of humanity, has achieved cross-species compatibility on the very first attempt, a feat no other species has accomplished. The room murmured. Aliens exchanged looks of disbelief, skepticism, and growing fascination. Doctor. Thrin, Elder Viren said, are you suggesting that humans, considered a simple species by most, are superior in some ways? Kayla met his gaze steadily. Not superior in the ways you might expect. Humans are not the strongest or the fastest, nor do they possess the most advanced intelligence, but they are effective in ways that matter. Their biology adapts naturally. Their instincts guide them effortlessly. They thrive where others struggle. They succeed without needing technology, without needing instruction. They simply are capable. A Zelthar scientist leaned forward, her 6 arms moving in subtle gestures of disbelief. You mean humans succeed by being themselves? Yes, Kayla said firmly. Their very nature allows them to integrate with environments, species, and challenges in ways the galaxy has not anticipated. Humans are naturally exceptional, quietly extraordinary. The chamber fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in. For centuries, humans had been dismissed as weak, underestimated by the galaxy. Now that perception was shattered. After the presentation, aliens approached Kayla with questions, some tentative, others brimming with excitement. Could this adaptability be harnessed? Was it a universal trait among humans? Could humans succeed where other species had failed for centuries? Kayla answered carefully, balancing scientific accuracy with ethical responsibility. These traits are inherent in humans. They are natural, instinctive, and cannot be replicated artificially. Lieutenant Hunter is a remarkable example, but he is not an anomaly. Humanity, as a species, possesses this adaptability. Outside the chamber, James waited patiently. He had grown accustomed to the attention, remaining calm and composed as if the galactic spotlight mattered little to him. When Kayla emerged, he offered a quiet smile. They listened, he said simply. Kayla nodded. Yes, and they are beginning to understand. Humans are no longer underestimated. The galaxy is beginning to see what I saw from the start. James tilted his head, curious. And what is that? Kayla paused, her gaze thoughtful. That humans are quietly extraordinary, capable of things no one expected. You succeed because you are simple, instinctive, adaptable. And the galaxy, it will never view humanity the same way again. In the days that followed, news of human adaptability spread like wildfire. Star systems far beyond Nova Prime debated, analyzed, and marveled at what humans could do. Scientists began reconsidering long-held theories about evolution, biology, and interspecies compatibility. Political leaders began to assess humans as a species worthy of respect and caution. Kayla spent her time continuing research, observing James, and guiding other humans who arrived at the station for voluntary studies. Each human she met confirmed the pattern: calm, adaptable, instinctively capable. They did not try to impress. They did not force their biology. They simply thrived. One evening, Kayla stood in the observation deck, looking at the swirling nebulae beyond the station's windows. The stars sparkled like diamonds, vast and unknowable. She thought of humanity, of its quiet strength, of its natural ability to astonish the galaxy without effort. James approached her, his footsteps soft against the polished floor. "Thinking about humans again?" he asked lightly. Kayla smiled faintly. "Always. Humanity has been underestimated for far too long, and now the galaxy is beginning to understand what I have known for weeks. You are exceptional not because you seek to be, but because you simply are." James chuckled softly. "Well, I'm glad you're impressed." Kayla's eyes twinkled. "Impressed, I am astonished, and I am grateful. You have shown me and the galaxy what humans are capable of. Not through force, not through intellect alone, but through instinct, resilience, and adaptability. Simple qualities, yet extraordinary." Outside the station, starships from multiple species glided silently, their crews aware that humans were no longer a species to ignore. Reports of James's achievements and humanity's hidden potential traveled faster than light, inspiring awe, curiosity, and respect across the galaxy. Kayla reflected on the journey that had begun with skepticism and doubt. She had once expected a simple experiment, a routine study. Instead, she had witnessed something extraordinary, a human quietly redefining the galaxy's understanding of life, capability, and potential. She looked at James, standing calmly beside her. The human male had done nothing unusual, nothing remarkable in the human way. Yet his mere existence, his natural biology, his instinctive adaptability, had achieved what no species had before. In that moment, Kayla understood a fundamental truth. Humanity's strength was subtle, quiet, and often overlooked. It was not in dominance or aggression. It was not in complex technology or advanced intellect. It was in the natural capacity to thrive, adapt, and astonish the universe simply by being human. The galaxy had glimpsed a new reality. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were respected, studied, and admired, not for what they forced themselves to do, but for what they could do naturally. And Kayla, once skeptical and cautious, now felt a profound sense of awe. She had seen the galaxy react to humans, and she knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity's story, its potential, its quiet power had only just begun to unfold. James turned to her, curiosity in his eyes. "So, what now?" Kayla smiled, a rare, warm smile. "Now we observe, we learn, and we let the galaxy discover the truth about humans. And perhaps the universe itself will never be the same." Outside, Nova Prime glimmered under the light of twin suns, a silent witness to the revelation that had begun on a single research station. Humans, underestimated for centuries, had quietly shown their extraordinary nature. And the galaxy, vast and infinite, was only beginning to understand what it had overlooked. As Kayla and James looked out at the stars together, a sense of wonder filled the room. The universe was wide, mysterious, and full of surprises. But humanity, Kayla realized, had become one of the greatest of them all. The journey of discovery was far from over, but one truth was clear. Humans, in their simple, instinctive way, had achieved something no one expected. They had astonished the galaxy, not through ambition, not through force, but through the quiet power of being themselves. And in that quiet power lay the true essence of humanity.